Welcome back to Fresh Outlook, everyone. April 15th is tax day in the United States, as well as Alyssa Cutler's birthday, our producer here. And if you spent many hours, if not days, figuring out how much you owe Uncle Sam or how much he owes us, you are not alone. I played accountant for my two sons with TurboTax and Tax Act, but these guys here know a whole lot better than me. They are the Fresh Outlook think tank. Mario Costanz, CEO of Happy Tax Company, Ed Garber, a public accountant, and Gail Rosen, a CPA in Martinsville. And I'm going to start with you, Mario, because what's happy about tax?
So there's not a lot happy about tax typically, but our company is different. And so we have a fresh perspective actually on taking taxes to the people and having a more convenient service of going back to the days of house calls, where we have a front end of people reaching out to clients and a back end of CPAs preparing the returns, so a better, higher quality product as well.
So somebody will actually come to your house, sit with you at your kitchen table, and break your pencils with you as you try to figure things out.
Absolutely. Well, it's a lot easier than that.
It's
In
easier
today's
than
technology,
that.
we have some patent pending processes that are helpful to that.
Okay, I'm going to turn to Gail Rosen now. Gail, with all the terrific software out there, is it hard on your business, or do people, once they get caught up in the quagmire of trying to do it themselves, realize, hey, I need an expert?
We were very busy this year.
Okay,
People
good.
are looking for help with their taxes because what goes in is what comes out.
Garbage
And
in,
if-
garbage out.
Exactly. And if you don't realize what you're entitled to and what, when you put in, should come out, then you realize you need an expert. It's really complicated. The laws are just confusing. There's a lot to it and a lot that you can be entitled to.
And sometimes when you're using this tax software, you don't even realize what you're inputting. Like, for example, my son lives in Vermont. I was trying to calculate his rent rebate that you
Exactly.
get up there, which is specific to the state, and you had to get line 16. And at the end, after spending literally an hour and a half maneuvering through the software to get him his rebate, he got nothing. Let's talk to Ed Garber a little bit. Ed, tell me about the new healthcare legislation and how it affects our tax filing.
Well, to tell you the truth, it's a great idea, but this is the worst piece of garbage that bureaucracy could ever invent, the IRS could ever invent. What happens is, say for instance you apply for Obamacare. You have to fill out a form, tell them which Obamacare you want to deal with, 30 different sections. A friend of mine did 30 of them. By the time his wife had to do something, the doctor wasn't even on it. So also when you do it, you have to tell them how much money you're going to earn. So say he's going to earn $15,000. See, his return is say 25. He has to pay a stipend back. So when you get your monthly...
So it's added to the confusion, it's added
Yes.
to the complication, and that's what I want to ask Mario about right now.
Well-
I'm going to get back to your point a little bit more. Okay.
Because I'm going to show you the forms that have to be done. Health insurance marketplace is what you receive as a W-2 of how much you received each month from the medical insurance. So this return has to be inputted into the computer. Therefore, this return comes out if you have to pay money back, A962. So people are blaming me for why they have to pay money back, which is impossible.
Okay, don't blame Ed, don't blame Gail or Mario.
Yeah.
Mario, this begs for tax simplification. Do you think it's ever going to happen?
I don't think tax simplification is ever going to happen. There's too much at play, and there's too many special interests that are, and even if you talk about the flat taxes that have been floated recently, they all take away the mortgage deduction.
Right.
So that would destroy home ownership in the country. People
And they
would have no more incentive to
And
go
they
out.
tend to hit working class people harder than rich people. I mean, 17% of one person's salary making $30,000 a year versus somebody making $30 million a year.
Absolutely,
right?
it's regressive.
Even though they're paying more.
Yes.
But the percentage doesn't hurt them as more. So, Gail, tell me do you have a prescription to make taxes better in America?
Well, I mean, I would be running for office if I had the answer. I mean, there are, like Mario said, there's too many special interest groups that we need the incentive there. If we
And they're
didn't have
propping up
that,
industries like housing. For example, if
Exactly,
you got rid
housing.
of the homeowner's deduction, there'd be less of a reason to buy a house and take the risk that goes along with buying
what would
a
happen
house.
to our charitable organizations?
Right.
What would happen for our incentive to save for our retirement? I mean, all these things are necessary. People need incentives.
Well, Chris Christie wants to take that away, apparently. That was his proposal to get rid of Social Security on people making more than $80,000 a year is one of his proposals. Ed, what were some of the issues that people came to you about this year, aside from healthcare?
Well, for charity, people saying, how come I can't deduct it? Well, if you have the standard deduction, you don't have enough. So say the standard is about $13,000. You deduct $5,000 without a house deduction, you can't deduct charities. So guess what's happening with the charities? A lot of money you're giving, the charity's using to lobby to the people in the government to make it that you could deduct charities even if you don't use the standard deduction. So some of that money that you're giving to charity is being used to lobby so the charities get more money.
Okay. Mario, is there a better or a worse state when it comes to state taxes? I know some states apparently have no income tax, and those are the best.
Correct.
Such as what, Florida?
Florida, Texas.
New Hampshire?
Yes.
Texas. But how does the tri-state region rank here in the metro area, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut?
Yeah, so New York, New Jersey have some of the highest tax rates in the nation. Go along with California in that bunch of states. Connecticut is not as bad, but I definitely, in New York City, you have an additional New York City tax on top of the state
or
tax.
a Yonkers tax.
Correct,
or
yes.
whatever it might be, yeah. Now, and this piggybacks off of the federal return, so whatever you input for your federal is going to affect your state return, right?
Correct, it'll flow through, and you'll pay tax on that there as well.
Tell me quickly about your organization. Do you get CPAs like Gail, I know you don't work with each other, and send people like her out to people's homes? It's an interesting business model.
Yeah, so the CPAs work on our back end. We've basically separated the front end of the service from the back end of the service, just like a restaurant where your chef would be the expert in the back of the house preparing the food, and your great customer service people, your waiters, your waitresses are in the front end. So our front end is our franchisees meeting with their clients at their homes, at their jobs, at a Starbucks, wherever is convenient for the customer. And then we use our patent pending technology to send it to a back office where we have our CPAs that are experts in the industry, and these guys will know that many retail establishments have people working with only 5 days of tax training, and those people are doing the tax preparation for a large portion of the country, and it's a shame because there's a lot of mistakes because of that. So we've taken the experts as well as the great customer service people and separated those roles, because it's very hard to find people that are great with customers and can give an amazing customer experience as well as have the tax knowledge that's required to prepare these returns correctly.
Gail, I'd imagine a big part of preparing your taxes is planning for your taxes, starting now on April 19th to get ready for, or April 18th. I'm a day ahead of myself.
After the fact, when we're preparing returns, we're preparing only what's already happened.
Right.
We're putting numbers into the computer.
So what you do, you contribute to 401ks, contribute to IRAs. Tell me some of the things that an average person can do to save on their tax bill next year.
Besides the retirement, which you just mentioned, a lot of people are starting their own business. So they have to understand all the deductions that they're entitled to in your own business. That's what's happening in America. The big corporations are not around as much, and people are starting businesses. So how do I keep records for my auto deduction? You know, what do I do if I go out to dinner with someone? What records do I have to keep?
And many people work now for 4, 5, 6, 7 employers because they're independent contractors, as you said. They own corporations, C corporations, S corporations.
Exactly.
They drive Uber cabs, which is basically your own business. They run Airbnbs, which is basically your own business. All of this is making everybody an entrepreneur and everybody walking away with a tax return that's 2 inches thick.
Exactly, and should you be an LLC, an S Corp, a C Corp, all those things have benefits and disadvantages depending on
depending on what you do, what you're investing in, what you're holding,
your
and so
situation.
forth. Do you deal mostly with individuals, Ed, or do you deal with small business?
Well, I do about 80% individuals and 20% small business. And also, tax season's not over for me. The 20th is Monday sales tax. I have about 40 clients to do sales tax for, which I haven't started yet. And April 30th is payroll. I have about 40 of them, which I won't start to the 21st.
And then the extensions have gone out.
So basically, May 1st is, I can actually take a break.
Okay,
Take a break and see my wife again. I see her right now. First time I see her in about 3 months. There she is.
She sees you on TV as well. Mario, tell me a little bit about your company and how it helps people prepare for the eventualities that we talked about, that people are working for 5 or 6 different companies. They own an LLC that they hold their house in, that they also have a small corporation that they run another business in. These are complicated matters that average individuals now deal with every day.
Absolutely, and the majority of people do only think about their taxes that once a year when they're preparing their taxes. And to agree with Gail and in your point, you should do some tax planning in the off season, what we call the off season in the tax business. However, the problem with that is that the government changes the rules in December most years. So there's no real way to know exactly what's going to be the new legislation and the new tax laws.
What's the biggest thing somebody can do? Is there a number one thing that somebody should do to save on their taxes? Is it buy a house? Is it to invest in their retirement?
In my opinion, it would be buy a house, because you get rent is not deductible in any way, shape, or form. So home ownership, you know, the majority of your outlay each month is going to your housing payment. So to be able to deduct that is the biggest tax savings in my opinion.
So would you say don't pay off your house, keep the interest rate, so you have a tax deduction?
No, the tax
depending on your
deduction is great. Yeah,
circumstance?
absolutely.
Okay. Gail, what say you on that?
Well, I hate to be political, but I'd have to say it depends on the person. I mean, for some people, you have to invest in your business because that's where you're going to get the income, and for some people, in situations, renting is better than buying.
It depends on your age.
It depends on your age and the situation,
Yeah.
right? And whether you're moving in
The rule of thumb used to
future.
be if you're going to be in the house longer than 5 years,
Right,
buy.
that was
Is that still the
exactly.
case? It depends.
Many times, but again, you have to run the numbers on a situation.
And it also used to be that you could count on your house to appreciate, and we no longer know if that's true either.
Right.
Right? So
Yeah.
we're really running through a maze here. Ed, what should you do if you haven't filed your taxes yet? People in the control room are ripping out their hair.
If you haven't
They
filed a
didn't do
return
it.
yet, give me a call. We still have to October 15th. My phone number
Or
is...
Gail, or Mario and his team. Yeah. So
But seriously-
a CPA can still help you. And
Because
apparently,
also we could still plan, because if you have a small business, a Schedule C, you could use your SEP, self-employed pension plan, you have to the day you file, whether it's October 14th, to make that payment for 2014, going backwards. So there's a lot of planning you can still do for 14 to October 15th.
okay, and my limited understanding of this is if the government owes you money and you haven't filed yet, it's no big deal. If you owe them money, it is a big deal.
Correct.
That's
'Cause
correct.
that's
Except
when
for,
the penalties
except for 3
kick in.
years. You have a 3-year limit where if you don't file within 3 years, you won't get your refund back.
Okay. What about all these companies we hear about on the radio, where people haven't filed for years, the IRS is after them, they can get an offer and compromise? Is that something you help people
That's
do?
BS. And also, we have a call on April 15th to my house. IRS called, quote unquote, with a scam. You're in trouble because you better call us now. The attorney's going to call you. You have to call your attorney to call us, IRS. Have a good day, which I told my wife. She was very worried about this. I said, don't worry about it. It's a scam. IRS never calls you. Do not believe these IRS scams at all.
That is a big scam. We have reported on it.
Yes.
Gail, I'm going to
Right.
ask you one about Rand Paul's flat tax proposal, and also about the other issue that I just brought up about the. Now it escapes me, but I was asking you a question about.
About when people, all these companies that are trying to
Right,
help you
negotiate offers and
negotiate back.
compromise.
Most of the times when I've seen those, that's not in your best interest.
Okay, is it see a CPA about something like
Yes,
that?
you see a
Or
CPA,
an
we're going to help
accountant?
you. And also, just to say something about, if you haven't filed yet, there's a lot of penalties if you owe money, like you said.
Right.
So if you haven't filed and you're going to owe money, you should deal with it right away. The failure to file penalty alone is 5% a month.
Wow.
Right.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, you would need an offer and compromise on that, I would think.
And those
Ed
forms
Garber,
are impossible to fill out either. 433A and B is insane.
The numbers are killing me already. I'm not a numbers guy, I'm a words guy. Okay, Ed Garber, Gail Rosen, Mario Costanz of Happy Tax. Thanks, everybody. Martinsville, were you?
Edison.
Edison.
Ed from Edison,
And
very
I'm
easy to
Logan
remember.
Crawford in the greater metro area. When we come back, a debilitating disease is in the spotlight, an ailment that has stricken stars like Michael J. Fox and even the champion of the world himself, Muhammad Ali. More on that after this.